And so then the other one, so will Wasm replace Docker? No, but imagine a future where Docker runs Linux containers, Windows containers, and Wasm containers side by side. Over time, Wasm might become the most popular container type. Docker will level them all equally and run it all. And these tweets were from quite a while ago, actually. But it's been something we've kind of kept watching the space, and when do we want to enter the space and get into this? And as we saw earlier, a lot of what Docker can bring is the standardization that made containers successful, of how we build, share, and run applications. Okay, when I was at KubeCon, I heard of conversations that some of the WebAssembly group they were starting to write their own specification of how to distribute these applications. Like, that's a solved problem. Okay, OCI, Open Container Initiative, defines specifications on how you build, share, and run applications. So why not piggyback on top of that? And so we want to do that. We want to make it easy to do it right in Docker Desktop. And we saw some demos of that earlier. And this third top level point, the interoperability with containers, so that you can run them side by side and they all just work at kind of that magical out of the box experience is what we really want. And with that, if you need to add another service, hey, I need to add a database, I need to add a Redis cache, whatever, you should be able to do that, and not everything just works for you. And that's what we're trying to get to. So actually, we saw a demo earlier. Michael showed off a demo of the three-tiered application. So I actually want to show, kind of going back to the browser idea real quick, and then I'll jump back to his real fast. WebAssembly's been around again in the browser for a little bit, but I decided I want to do one quick demo of actually running a WebAssembly app in the browser. So I've got this application here. How many have ever played or written code to do Conway's Game of Life? It's a pretty common problem solving, learning to program. I won't go into it too much, but this is a simulation. Basically, I click play and it's going to run. And it's running at about 120 frames per second, which if you try to do that in JavaScript, you're not going to get that level of performance. Okay, so we kind of see it in action here. And one of the things that I wanted to do with Docker here was I wanted to set up a compose file where I'm actually doing I've got one service that's watching this WebAssembly code. And let's actually go in here and let's try to do something crazy. Let's double this, actually quadruple the size of our grid that we're going to be working with. And you'll see that when I save this, it's going to automatically recompile my Wasm code down here. So the Rust tool chain and everything, it's containerized there. And when I go back to my browser, now it's much larger here. It's already been hot reloaded into my browser, and I just hit play, and now it's going. Okay, and that was still insanely fast, even with 120. Do I dare test my luck here? Okay, let's recompile. All right. You can barely see the play button down there. And it's still going about 60 frames per second here, okay? And so this is some of the performance benefits that come with WebAssembly. But the thing I wanted to highlight here, I'm a big believer that I should be able to git clone a project, I git clone Docker Compose up and be able to start working on it. And that me as a developer, I don't have to know what tooling do I need to install. Okay, I need Rust, I need all these different Node and Webpack and all these different things. I should be able to just Docker Compose up and contribute to it. And, I was able to do that here with this browser app. And we saw earlier with the other Michael speaker that in that particular application, he didn't show the compose file, so I'll show it real quick. So I've got the server here. And the only difference is we add this runtime that basically says, hey, this isn't a normal container. This isn't a Linux container. This is a Wasm application. And what happens is that when we build the Docker file, the final container image, which he was shown was about 3 megabytes in size. What happens is when this particular service starts, it's going to extract the module out and basically drop it onto the Wasm runtime. That's pretty much it. Okay? And so kind of graphically, this is what it looks like. So container D, that's already been in Docker Desktop for ages now. Normally uses container D shim and run C to set up all the kernel namespaces and control groups and everything else that's needed to start containers. What we've done here is we've created another shim that again does that extraction, and now using Wasm Edge starts up the application on Wasm Edge. okay? But the cool thing is here is that they're all running side by side, and it's kind of that magical experience. The networking works as you expect, as we saw the demo here earlier. Got a MySQL container running here, got a Wasm app here, and the networking works. They can all communicate with each other, and hooray. Okay? And so that was our technical preview that we launched. Yes?
Modules, like multiple modules, you are using the same Wasm at runtime or starting multiple?
All right, so the question was, in case you couldn't hear, it was if I'm running multiple modules, multiple services here, am I leveraging the same runtime, or is it one per right now? Okay, this is a technical preview. Let me get that out there. As of today, it is a one-to-one. Okay, so if I'm running 10 Wasm apps, I'm running 10 Wasm runtime. So yeah, you're not getting that speed up yet, but that is something that we're anxiously trying to fix so that you get the speed improvements, the startup improvements. Yep.
Right now, Wasm Edge or like WebAssembly provides this module level sandboxing. So why to have multiple Wasm Edge runtime when modules are sandboxed by default?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the observation there was that Wasm already has sandboxing, already has isolation in place. Why not just leverage that? And that's exactly what we want to do. So if we're running 10 different Wasm applications, it should be on the same runtime, and then leveraging the sandboxing and isolation that comes from that runtime rather than running 10 different runtimes. Absolutely. And so that's something we're actively working on and trying to kind of fix there. So again, it's a technical preview. We're working towards that. But yeah, so that's a recognized gap right now. Yep, and great observation there too. So with that, all right, we already saw the other demo, and this was Solomon's kind of closing that loop there. This was after we made the technical announcement, and so he said it makes perfect sense. We no longer live in a single runtime world. Our Linux containers, Windows containers, Wasm containers, OCI can package them all, and I should be able to build and run them all with Docker. And again, that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to, again, be that developer tool and provide that magical out-of-the-box experience that you already know and love, and continue to build on that. And so from here, what's next? There's a lot of things that we're still working on. A path to production. In fact, a lot of the conversation I had at Kubernetes at KubeCon was, okay, great. How's this work in Kubernetes? Well, great question. There are ways to run Wasm runtimes in Kubernetes. Okay, but the question then quickly becomes: is that the right path to production for Wasm applications? If I have to schedule a deployment or a pod, for example, and if I wanted quick startup times, well, now just by scheduling it through Kubernetes, I've lost that kind of quick speed up time. Are there other deployment strategies, deployment methods that might make more sense for these types of workloads? Great question. We're wanting to continue building using the OCR artifacts and again, help out developers. This is still very early in the space. It feels very like beginning of containers timeframe. And we're excited to be helping out. And so, yeah, we want the feedback, we want the discussion. So we've got quite a few different places. Here's a QR code if you want to try this technical preview. Right now, it is a separate Docker desktop build. It is not part of the main product yet. That's on our roadmap as well. So this QR code will take you to the docs page, and you can download that, give it a try. We've got a Wasm Slack channel on our community Slack. And if you want to talk to me personally, feel free to do so. I've got my my email, my Twitter there, and since everybody's jumped to Mastodon, apparently I threw that on there too, just in case. So, but anyways, thanks for your time, and I think with time, maybe I'll hold questions till the end. You can feel free to come up and chat with me, go from there. So, thanks all.